Unfortunately, the Dion Liberals have tried to muddy the water when it comes to his risky rhetoric. They muse about a policy one day, only to turn around completely and flip-flop on it the next. On one day, they're caught with their guard down and muse openly about raising taxes and canceling family benefits, only to indulge in a desperate flurry of denials and deflections and damage controls in the weeks that follow. We certainly expect Dion's denials to continue throughout this campaign as he runs away from his own statements and his own record, as weak leaders usually do. But he won't succeed, and because Canadians will demand to know the facts. That's why the Conservative Party will be launching an ambitious advertising campaign to inform Canadians fairly about Dion's real plans should he become Prime Minister. And make no mistake, he has plans that involve forcing Canadians to pay more and to get less. We call Dion's plan the triple threat, a real risk to the finances and livelihoods of Canadian families, confirmed by the past words, actions, and policies of Stephane Dion himself. So what is this triple threat? Well, firstly, Stephane Dion wants a higher GST. How do we know? Because Mr. Dion told us so. We know that Dion himself said he would, quotes, consider increasing the GST. We know that Dion's finance critic, John McCallum, said a GST hike was, quotes, an option. And we know that when asked about the increase in the GST, one of his senior Liberal MPs, Marlene Jennings, hinted that, quotes, this debate needs to happen. Secondly, Stephane Dion wants to take away the $1,200 a year childcare payment from Canadian parents. How do we know? Because Mr. Dion told us so. When asked point blank by the National Post if he would cancel the Conservative daycare plan, Mr. Dion said, quotes, yes. Now, he can try to deny his real agenda in the middle of an election campaign, but it doesn't get much clearer than this. Thirdly, Stephane Dion wants to impose a permanent new tax that will drive up the cost of gas, electricity, and pretty much everything else that Canadians buy. How do we know? Again, because Mr. Dion told us so. In fact, the carbon tax is the centerpiece of his campaign. He even admitted under his carbon tax, gas prices would go up, saying of gas companies, quotes, we know that they will pass on part of their costs to their consumers. We know that, close quote. So each of these three measures on their own would be devastating. But taken together, it's a 3 strikes and you're out for Canadian families under Mr. Dion. Now, Stephane Dion represents an unprecedented assault on the living standards of all Canadians. His combination of a carbon tax, a higher GST, and cancelled family benefits will devastate family finances, will cost jobs, and will make everything more expensive. In this election campaign, Canadian families will be comparing the tested leadership of Stephen Harper against the risky proposition of Stephane Dion. In doing so, they should ask themselves the following questions. Can Canadian families afford to pay more GST? Can Canadian families afford to have the $1,200 per year childcare payments get cancelled? And can Canadian families afford to pay more for groceries, electricity, fuels, and nearly everything else they buy because of a Dion carbon tax? We know the answers to these questions. Canadians simply cannot afford, particularly at a time of global economic uncertainty, to be hit with the Dion triple threat. Canadians have too much at stake to risk it all on Stephane Dion. I'll now turn it over to my colleague Lawrence Cannon to make some remarks, and following that we'll be screening some new advertisements demonstrating the triple threat that Mr. Dion poses to Canadians. Thank you.